Biological evolution, the Lamarck's theory. Lamarck published his theory of evolution in the Philosophy Zoologique in 1809. It is popularly known as the inheritance of the acquired characters in organism. Inheritance of acquired in organism. Lamarckism can be defined as the changes in the structure or function of any organ acquired during the lifetime of an individual in response to changing in the surrounding environment, which are inherited by its offspring and keep on adding up over a period of time. Four main propositions of the Lamarckism are the internal vital force, effect of environment and new needs, use and disuse of organs, inheritance of acquired characters. Internal vital force, all the living things and the component parts are the continually increased due to the internal vital force. Effect of environment. A change in environment brings about changes in organisms and gives rise to new needs. New needs or desires produce new structures and change the habits of organism. Doctrine of the desire is called the appetency. If an organ is constantly used, then it would be better developed, whereas disuse of organ result in its degeneration. Characters that an individual acquired during his lifetime due to the internal vital force effect of environment, new needs, and use and disuse of organs are inherited over the next generation. The process continues, and after several generations, the variations are accumulated up to such an extent that they give rise to new species. Evidences in the favor of Lamarckism. Lamarck cited examples of the phylogenetic studies of giraffe and other animals to support his theory. He explained the development of the long-necked and the four-limbed giraffe from the short-necked and the four-limbed deer-like ancestor took place by gradual elongation of the neck and the forelimbs in response to deficiency of the food in the barren ground in the dry deserts of Africa. Criticism. Lamarck's theory of inheritance of acquired characters was disapproved by German biologist August Weismann. He cited many examples and put forth the theory of continuity of germo germ plasm, continuity of germ plasm. According to this theory, the characters influencing the germ cells are only inherited. Weismann cut off the tails of rats for as many as the 22 generations and allowed them to breed, but tailless rats were never born. Darwin's theory. Charles Darwin, an English naturalist and one of the most important biologists of the 19th century, made an extensive study in nature for over 20 years while on voyage of the world exploration on a famous ship HMS Beagle. During this journey, he explored the fauna and flora of a number of the continents and islands such as Galapagos Islands. There he observed great variation among the organisms living there and called it a living laboratory of evolution. The theory of natural selection was announced on the June 30, 1858 by the English naturalist Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace. Theory of natural selection. On June 30, 1858, posed by the Charles Darwin and Alfred Russel Wallace in the paper Origin of Species by Means of Natural Selection. Origin of Means of Natural Selection. Salient features of Darwin's theory of natural selection: rapid multiplication, or organisms possess enormous fertility and they multiply in the geometric ratio resulting in the overproduction. Example: a codfish lays several hundred eggs at a time. Rapid multiplication. Limited food and space. Resources such as food and space remain limited and are not liable to increase with increase in population. Then the inheritance of useful variations. Useful variations are passed on to the next generation and non-useful are eliminated. Then the formation of new species. Accumulation of useful variation generation after generation leads to formation of new species and the survival of the fittest. Organisms better adapted to the surroundings survive and unfit ones are destroyed. Struggle for existence. Intraspecific struggle between the individuals of a same species for similar requirements of the food and shelter. Interspecific struggle between the members of different species. Environmental struggle between the organisms and the environmental factors. Branching, descent, and the natural selection are the two key concepts of Darwin's theory of evolution. Branching, descent, and the natural selection. Key concept of Darwin's theory of evolution. Darwin's theory of evolution. Evidences in favor of Darwinism. Abundance of variation among individuals of a population, mimicry and protective coloration in certain animals, correlation between the position of the nectaries in flowers and length of proboscis in pollinating insects are some evidences. Lederberg's replica experiment explains Darwin's theory. Lederberg's replica explains Darwin's theory. Penicillin was used in the Lederberg's replica experiment. Lederberg's replica experiment is connected with the adaptations. Criticism against Darwinism. Darwin did not differentiate between somatic and the germinal variation and considered all variations as heritable. Occurrence of organisms that remained unchanged for several million years. Occurrence of the discontinuous variation. Survival of the fittest cannot be explained. The effect of use and the disuse and the presence of vestigial organs cannot be explained. Hugo de Vries mutation theory. Hugo de Vries, a Dutch botanist, proposed the mutation theory of evolution based on the observation of the experiments conducted on the Eonothera lamarckiana, evening primrose. The salient features of the mutation theory are the mutations or the discontinuous variations of the raw materials of the evolution. Mutations appear all of a sudden and become operational immediately. These mutations are random and directionless, while Darwin variations are small and directional. Unlike the Darwin's continuous variations or fluctuation, mutations do not revolve around the mean or the normal character of the species. The same types of mutation can appear in a number of individuals of a species. All mutations are inheritable. Mutations appear in all conceivable directions. Useful mutations are selected by nature, whereas lethal mutations are eliminated. However, useless and the less harmful ones can persist in the progeny. Evolution for Darwin was gradual, while Hugo de Vries believed mutation caused speciation. Believes and hence called it the saltation, single step large mutation. Saltation is the single step large mutation. Hardy-Weinberg principle. The genetic equilibrium is defined as the relative frequency of the various kinds of gene in a large and randomly mating sexual panmictic population tend to remain constant from generation to generation in the absence of mutation, selection, and the gene flow. This is called the Hardy-Weinberg principle of the Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium. In a population at the equilibrium for a locus with two alleles D and D have frequencies of the P and Q respectively. The genotype frequencies are the two formula are the P square plus the 2PQ plus, whereas P plus Q equals to 1. P equals to frequency of the dominant allele in the population, whereas Q is equal to frequency of the recessive allele in the population. P square equals to percentage of homozygous dominant individuals, and Q is equal to percentage of homozygous recessive. And the 2PQ is equal to percentage of heterozygous individuals. One is equal to sum total of the allelic frequency. Five factors known to affect Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium are the gene migration, genetic drift, gene migration, Genetic drift, mutation, genetic recombination, and natural selection. When migration of a section of population to another place in population occurs, gene frequencies change in the original as well as in the new population. This is called the gene migration. New genes allele are added to the new population and these are lost from the old population. There would be gene flow if this gene migration happens multiple times. If the same change occurs by chance, it is called the genetic drift. Sometimes the change in the allele frequency is so different in the new sample of population that they become a different species. The original drifted population becomes founder, and the effect is called the founder effect. Microbial experiments show that the pre existing advantageous mutations, when selected, will result in observation of the new phenotypes over few generations. This would result in the speciation. Natural selection is a process in which heritable variations enabling better survival are unable to reproduce and leave greater number of the progeny. A critical analysis makes us believe that variation due to mutational variation due to recombination during gametogenesis or due to gene flow or genetic drift results in change of frequency of the genes and alleles in the future generation. Natural selections can lead to stabilization in which more individuals acquire a mean character value, directional change. More individuals acquire value other than the mean character value or the disruption. And the more individuals acquire peripheral character value at both ends of distribution curve.